A year ago, Kemi Badenoch was elected as leader of the Conservatives. She came into the job saying she was going to spend a couple of years having a good, hard think rather than introducing policies. Then there was some quite bad local election results, lots of grumblings that she was going to be replaced by one of her colleagues, and a Conservative Party conference speech where she announced that she would abolish stamp duty. And she seemed to be getting a bit of a second wind. So on this, her first anniversary in the job, we got her here in the studio of the BBC's daily news podcast, Newscast, for a big chat about how it's all gone. Kemi Badenoch, hello.
Hello.
So it's your first anniversary or thereabouts about being elected as leader. Will you be marking that in a particular way or just business as usual?
Yeah, business as usual. Business as usual. I celebrate birthdays.
Yeah.
Birthdays for me are a big thing. And then everything else is more reflection. Like, well, it's been a year since or 2 years since.
Oh, well, okay, let's focus on the birth. What would be your dream birthday celebration if we're not celebrating this?
Dream birthday celebration is me away with my family somewhere hot because my birthday's in January, so it's a very, very sort of dark, cold time. I like to have a barbecue on my birthday. Yeah. So that would be
and great. I'm just thinking, like, phone off. Would you like completely unplug during that period?
Yes. I mean, now all the messages come from WhatsApp. People don't ring anymore, so I'll get lots of birthday WhatsApps. Very few calls coming through. And my birthday used to be either watching the latest Harry Potter or The Lord of the Rings. So it was always a cinema day. And then it became Marvel because I'm quite into sort of sci-fi, fantasy, superheroes. And so I had there was a period where the Harry Potters came out every Christmas and I'd watch on my birthday, and then The Lord of the Rings and so on. But now we've sort of run out of that. So, but good
I'm interested
movie.
About Marvel though.
Yes.
Do you have a favourite Marvel character?
Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Yes. Doctor
Very
Strange.
metaphysical he is. Yeah.
Yes.
Is this news to you, Chris?
It is, I'm afraid. Yeah. I'm just listening and learning.
And do you think Marvel has gone off the boil? Because a lot of Marvel fans think it's not been a great last
I
years.
think the law of diminishing returns, which is one of my favourite laws, applies. That after a certain point, the more you make, the more you get. It's never going to be quite as good as the beginning. I still think what they did with the first Infinity Saga was extraordinary, because it was only after sort of the fifth movie that I thought, well, hang on, is all of this connected? That person was in this other movie, and the complexity of making any kind of cinema these days. You just see the sheer number of people in the credits, how they keep the storylines going, making sure the actors have, the charm and get people going in. I don't think it is as good as it used to be, but I think it is still good. So my son, I have over this summer introduced him to Marvel, and we've watched every movie up until Endgame now.
Oh wow!
Every weekend, and then on his birthday in October, we watched Endgame. I said, we'll watch Endgame on your birthday.
And I think there's something like 32 Marvel films in total, so you've still got a while to go.
I've still got a while to go, but we're stopping now.
Now to try and be like shoehorn in some political journalism. Can we draw any links between Doctor Strange or any Marvel characters and your leadership style? That was smooth, wasn't it?
This is a very interesting segue. Well, the Marvel character arc is always disaster forms the hero. With Tony Stark, it was
He's Iron Man, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was the being kidnapped in Afghanistan, and then he comes out becoming Iron Man. With Doctor Strange, it's having that terrible accident and then seeking, or just seeking meaning in his life. And I think that is sort of what has happened with the Conservative Party having a historic defeat.
You've had your end game.
We've had no. This has not been the end game. This has been the beginning of what is the new Conservative Party, and how are we going to fix this? Who are we? What are we about? And that's basically what the leadership has been. That I didn't rush out saying, all right, we're coming out, fighting. We need to acknowledge where we went wrong. We actually need to look at a lot of the stuff we did. Was this right? Was this not right? There were some things around immigration where we tried as much as we could. We did lots of things and it just didn't work. Labour's having the same problem now. Their one in, one out scheme's not working. They are struggling too. What do we need to do to get things working again? My mission now is to get Britain working again. It's a new leader. Lots of people say, why didn't you do it? 14 years. I wasn't there for the whole 14 years. I came in halfway through and I wasn't in charge. How do we also let people know what we stand for? Who are the people that we are doing this for? You can't try and please everybody. That's one big lesson that we've learned. We tried to please everybody previously and we lost everyone instead. So who are we for? It's the people who are going out there, setting up a business really tough, small businesses in particular, farmers, just the people, who are grafting very hard. They are creating prosperity in our country. They want to make ends meet. Whether they're a nurse or a plumber, how do we make your life better?
Okay.
How do you assess this first year then for you in the job?
It's very hard to do your own assessment because you see all of the things that you've had to deal with. Most people can't see every single thing that you've been sorting out. So I would say, given the level of political fragmentation, given how rejected we were in 2024, people voted whatever they could to get the Conservatives out. It was always going to be very, very difficult. And there are a lot of internal things that needed fixing, which, your listeners don't need to know all about, but making sure that we survived as a going concern. Money, very, very important. Without money, a party can't survive.
Was there a risk that you would have gone totally bust?
Yes, there was.
Really?
So
how close did you come to just having zero money or negative money?
Well, it's hard to say, but there was a point when all of the donors could just have thought, well, there's no election, there's nothing happening. You didn't do, the right-wing policies that we wanted to see, and letting them know who I was and what I was about actually took quite a lot of my time. I think I'd like to have been out there a bit more, but if I'd been on TV and we ran out of money, I think.
Yeah, but you surely could have done both. You could have been on TV and then called.
So that is what I thought too. But it turns out time is finite. So yes, Doctor Strange's time stone.
You don't have an infinity stone.
I do not have an infinity stone. And also, there's quite a lot of just working out behind the scenes. What are we saying? What are we doing? And lots of people thought that we weren't doing anything. We're working furiously behind the scenes, which is why at party conference we were able to roll out just a whole new agenda. We have a golden economic rule. We are going to cut public spending. We put some of that towards paying down the deficit. We put the rest of it into things like abolishing stamp duty, scrapping business rates, all of those lovely things that people want to see that will get Britain working again. And that actually takes time. The biggest thing which I did was announcing that we would leave the ECHR, something that not because we wanted to do it, it's because we have to do it. Did a lot of work, had some of the country's best lawyers put that policy on a solid foundation. So working furiously behind the scenes, doing PMQs, and then media interviews and so on.
I mean, I remember when you came into the job, you said, right, I'm not going to rush out a load of policies. As you just said, I'm going to think about what this party's for, who we're for. Did you, though, accelerate the process of bringing out the policies? Like in the original plan, was it, actually, we'll have a couple of years of that process?
No,
just one.
No, I've never had a timeline. It's always been think it through and then announce it. So we had some early policies, how we would, extend the time you needed to become a British citizen, for example. We had some early policies on that. Net zero was quite early on. That's something I've wanted to do since 2019. Just explain why the plan wasn't working and how we need something new. We started coming up with that. And what we've just announced is still the beginning. There is a lot more to come. We need to get our country going again. We need to get Britain working again. And I feel like a lot of politics is just given up. Well, we can't change anything, so let's just manage the decline. I'm not about managing decline. I'm about fixing things, and that's what I want to do.
When you look back at this year, and you were talking about quite starkly about keeping the party together in those immediate months after a colossal defeat, given how competitive, given how noisy the political environment is, not least the rise of Nigel Farage, have you been out there enough? Do you look back and think, yes, of course I had to make sure the party stayed together, but I should have been out there more.
Now I am out there, and that's basically been the case since the run-up to the local elections, which, as you know, did not go well. We knew it wouldn't. We knew it would be a challenge. We lost a lot of our councillors. Those are the people who bear the brunt of that. But it isn't just about being out there. It's what are you saying? And I was out there a lot, and I realised I was saying lots of different things, because it's all in my mind, but it wasn't cohering in the way that I wanted it to.
It wasn't one big story.
Yes, exactly. And now that is easier. Some of it is just a function of time. How do we make sure that we're building, but people are trusting us more? We've got to be consistent. Just reacting to everything, kicking everything that the opposition parties do. It might be fun, but it isn't actually telling a story about who we are. And I want people to know who we are under my leadership. Because you're absolutely right, Chris. The political fragmentation is what is different for me as leader of the opposition versus previous leaders of the opposition. They've had to deal with one, with two-party politics.
It was Labour or the Conservatives,
yes,
and you were battling over everyone.
Yes, exactly. Now it is, we had Plaid Cymru winning a by-election previously. Before that, it was the SNP. Reform has done so. The Lib Dems are doing well where they have strongholds. It's everybody.
But then what? We could do like 5-hour-long podcast on this. But then, what are the consequences of having 5 or 6 party politics? Is it, for example, you just have to be realistic about what the maximum share of the vote you could get, and actually 17% in the polls isn't a disaster because that's a product of more parties?
Well, it is a shame, but what it does mean is that people win on smaller shares of the vote. Labour won on a historic low, 34%. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're dealing with so much unpopularity and struggling to get things done. It's not much of a mandate. And just focusing on your personal hobby horses or your party's hobby horses isn't necessarily setting an agenda for
But weren't you just saying you need to narrow down in terms of who you stand for?
No, we need to be clearer about who we stand for. We are not standing for people who want a free ride. And that means everyone from those who turn up on our shores claiming asylum even though they're economic migrants. I think that our policies have been too soft. We've taken people at face value. We've been very naive. No more. But we're also not accepting at face value everyone who says, I can't work. We need to get Britain working again. And we spent time trying to please many lobby groups who, they all have good good intentions, but the things they're trying to do don't work. You look at the mess Rachel Reeves got into around housing regulations last week. I think that we're over-regulated. The Renters' Rights Bill is something that Conservatives started doing. I hated it, and I'm very pleased that I managed to slow it down. We didn't get it over the line, and when I after the election, I said we're not doing this anymore. But of course, Labour has picked it up. I think it's going to create more and more regulations that actually reduce housing in the rental market. People are already struggling in cities. It's so hard. If you've spoken to anyone trying to rent in London, it's so hard. Who are we for? We want to make sure that those people who are getting out to work can rent a place. How do we make sure that we get you property?
Would a future Conservative government repeal the Renters' Rights Act, which has just become law?
Well, there is a lot in it that is just destroying the rental market. I think that the argument needs to be made. Many people don't understand. So we need to explain why it's not working. So let it come in. Let's see the consequences, and then we explain
because
to people,
it includes things that people might quite like not being able to chuck a tenant out without a good reason, and things like not being able to have a sort of bidding war on a rental property.
Well, that's absolutely true.
Do you think rental war, bidding
So those are things that nobody likes that. But what are the consequences? All actions have consequences. You can put in legislation to say we don't want any more bidding wars, and then no one puts houses on the market, which is worse. Quite often, politics is about trade-offs. It's not, getting the perfect scenario. It is getting the right balance. And many of these bits and pieces of legislation aren't the right balance, to the point where even the Chancellor can't keep up. How do we make sure that we focus on the outcomes rather than just on which rules we're putting in? What's actually going to happen when those rules come into play? That's what we're seeing.
Let's talk about one of the key elements as being leader of the opposition, certainly in terms of the public role week by week, and that is Prime Minister's questions. So I sit there every Wednesday looking down at you guys, wondering in the half an hour or so before what line of questioning you might pursue. And it seems to me that in the last couple of months, you've found your mojo with PMQs and had the Prime Minister in some really tight spots several weeks running. Did you change your approach to how you were doing it?
Yes, I did change my approach. So I started off Prime Minister's questions, doing a lot of research, being very forensic, having all these statistics, and people couldn't follow it.
How long would you be preparing? Like a whole day beforehand?
Yeah. Getting the teams, bring me facts. And I realized that in that sort of 10 minutes, which I get, maybe 15, people couldn't follow it. And he would just stand up and just say, it's all rubbish, or this is nonsense. And then he has, we play Starmer Bingo. It's sort of 14 years, 22 billion, all sorts of things which he says, and we're mentally ticking them off. And I just thought, this isn't working. I need something that people can understand. And actually thinking about it like a panto helped. It's more theatre.
Yeah.
It's more theatre than it is a prosecution or a question and answer session or an interrogation. And that helped in terms of simplifying it so that everybody could follow, rather than me rushing through loads of statistics and thinking, yeah, I got him, and no one noticed. And they thought,
So what does that mean in practice then? So that's the theory, the new theory.
So in practice, it
means... Take us into your mind.
So it means, for instance, not having. So I would often try and go into lots of places, because in my mind, each of those questions created decision trees of problems. Most people need to stay focused on one thing, and then I unravel the mystery, sort of peeling back layers of an onion.
Or a Russian doll.
Yeah, exactly. Or a Russian doll. It's a very good analogy. But I was trying to pack too much in.
Yeah.
So keeping it simple, I would often cover more than one topic, because lots of people wanted me to say different things. I get letters from people, please can you talk about this, please can you talk about that, and I would try and do that, but people couldn't follow it. It doesn't mean I won't do those things, but right now the other thing that has changed is that Labour has now been around for long enough for me to.
You've got more to go at.
Yes, I've got more to go after. Right at the beginning, they hadn't done anything, so it was very theoretical, and I was still the baggage of the previous government, which I've had to pick up, has gotten lighter as people can see that actually Labour isn't solving this borders issue. They're not smashing any gangs, and the person we sent out one in, one out has come back again. That's clearly not working.
Although you've just given away your method now.
No, I haven't. There's still quite a lot more to it.
Okay,
There's still quite a lot more to it.
Some have suggested to me that the Prime Minister can come across as patronising towards you. Do you feel that?
I'm sure he tries to be patronising.
Do you think so?
I think he.
Because people have suggested to me that he might do it by accident, but
I think it is a safe place for him when he knows. I actually take it as a compliment. He is at his most patronising when I'm asking the most difficult questions, and it's not just me that he does it to. And I think that's the safe place he goes to. Well, I will try and belittle this person, but it doesn't. It doesn't really have that much of an effect on me. I came into politics, and I certainly came into this job expecting it to be people being as rude and as horrible and as nasty as they're going to be. And you need a thick skin to be able to deal with that. So when he's being patronising, I think, right, okay, so that means this is working. And it doesn't play well for him on the television screens either. So it is an interesting thing. What is happening at Prime Minister's questions, because I can tell that Keir Starmer doesn't like answering questions. He likes asking them. And I like answering questions. I had to learn how to ask them. I'd been a secretary.
You've both had to learn doing opposing roles, haven't you? Yeah.
I was the person who was on the government side of the dispatch box, and I bring it on. I can answer anything. I'm on top of my brief. I've read through it, and having to ask the questions, I kept, having all that stuff in my head, which I didn't have the time to go into. I just need to ask the question. What I would love to do is say, well, here's the background, everybody, and this is what, and that was what I was doing initially, which wasn't working.
Does it make you sad that our political system, actually, the centerpiece of our formal politics every week is something you just described as a pantomime? Is it a good thing that that's the format?
No, it is. It doesn't make me. It doesn't make me sad. It is the nature of British politics that we will have a panto. Other people will have other, culturally appropriate analogies for politics. But we have something.
Sumo match?
Sorry?
Like a sumo wrestling match?
Yeah, maybe. But what is interesting and good is that we are able to get the leader of our country in every week to answer questions. Donald Trump doesn't have to do that.
Except Chris has been in meetings with Donald Trump where he's answered questions for an hour from everyone.
Yes, but he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to, and it's not.
Choice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not every single. It's not every single week, and. There's, our parliament is basically, we're all peers there. It doesn't matter, eventually, yes, you have a leader, but the leader as a legislator is still, first among equals. And I think that is a good thing. It means that anyone can stand up and ask the prime minister whatever it is that they want to, if they've been, if they're called by the speaker or if they're on the list. And I don't think that we should underestimate the importance of that. And yes, while it might be, a bit of a panto, quite a lot of important stuff is happening behind the scenes, or if you're looking closely, you're getting the mood of the different parties, who's sitting next to whom, what they're, there's a lot of psychology that's going on, which is very helpful for us in terms of knowing what to do, where to take the questioning, where the country is at, what people have heard in their constituencies, all of that.
It's interesting on that who was sitting next to whom, because last week one of the things that plenty of us noticed was that Lucy Powell, the new deputy leader of the Labour Party, sitting next to Angela Rayner, the former deputy leader of the Labour Party.
Yes,
very prominently in a way that doesn't happen.
They're sending a message. So there's all sorts of stuff going on.
And quite often you're sat next to Robert Jenrick, who lots of people think is after your job.
People said that about me when I was Secretary of State, that I was after the Prime Minister's job, which wasn't true. And one of the things that I quite like is that I've got a team of, very, very disparate people, some of them very feisty, like Rob. And I've told him, just go after every single thing that you can. And he's doing that.
On that topic, there's one particular, he's certainly enterprising when it comes to his social media output. But the one that many people will recall was when he decided to go after fare dodgers on the London Underground.
Great. I even talked about it in my conference speech. It was I don't want to say theatre, because what he was talking about was quite serious, but it was very beautifully done, just telling a story of just how bad a problem had got.
And was the first you knew of that when you saw it on social media like the rest of us?
No, I knew he was doing something, but I honestly don't have the time to go into everybody's social media.
Well, not his, it's so much of it.
I have said, fill your boots. Everyone go out there. This is due, especially until conference. We trust ourselves, go on instinct, do whatever it is you want to do on social media. Just make sure that if it's something that is a new policy line, that you check it, just so we don't end up going off in different directions.
Oh, so you can do something that's like maybe a bit of a stunt, and as long as it's kind of sticking to the script that is the party script, it's okay.
Yeah, well, as long as it's not going against the party script. But now, post-conference, in the run-up to the budget, there is a lot that I want us to focus on. I want people to know what is going on with the economy, to understand where Rachel Reeves could go wrong, and see that we're trying to drag her into a very sensible place.
So you want your team to be a bit more disciplined message-wise in the next month or so?
Certainly for this period where we're talking about the budget, every single person has an angle, whether it's justice like Rob or housing like James Cleverly, Mel obviously, to how to bring it back to the economy. Because what really worries me is that people don't know just how, the dire straits that we're in. And we need to make sure that they understand just how perilous the economic situation is. So right now, that's what we're talking about.
I want to ask you about your conference speech. Actually, the economy was a big part of that. I was doing my usual thing of loitering at the side, as I did for 6 different conferences at this autumn. And what I was really struck by, Kemi, at the Conservative conference is that clearly it was a big moment for you personally, your first main conference speech. Secondly, the party clearly in this multi-party politics is in a difficult place in the teens in the opinion polls, and that heaps pressure on you. And there'll be a lot of people who are still trying to understand who you are and what you stand for. Talk us through arriving at that conference speech. It seemed to me like you were enjoying yourself and that you were confident, and on an occasion where you might very well have been rather nervous, and people in the hall seemed pleasantly surprised. As you approached that conference, knowing the pressures that you're under, what did you What did you feel that you had to get across there?
So, if I was to use the concept of feedback mechanisms and feedback loops, sorry, this is always me being an engineer, that whenever I do things, I see what was the response, did that work? And over the last year, I've just been learning that quite a lot of the things which I talk about are not necessarily landing. So I started off with some very sort of intellectual speeches about liberalism, how we're being naive, the Western world. And a cohort of people really love that stuff. But actually...
A small cohort.
Well, but a very important cohort, Chris, very important cohort.
Intellectuals, right-wing intellectuals.
Yes, indeed, because we need to have ideological coherence, for lack of a better phrase. But actually, you can't really campaign easily with that. And going into the local elections and coming out of it, just thinking, what's the question that people were answering? I've got to answer that question. And I realized that there were several things that people wanted to know. What are you going to do on immigration, being the biggest thing? Why won't you, or why will you leave the ECHR? So I thought we've got to deal with that. But that is not even a small fraction of what Conservatives are about. I had to do lots more stuff. So why don't we do all this work, make sure that we get our ECHR policy sorted, announce that, and then do the conference speech. So I actually did 2 speeches. One looking backwards, talking about where we made mistakes, what we got wrong, and then another one looking forwards, saying this is where we're going.
I wonder if there's a human thing underneath that. Have you learned to enjoy the job more?
Well, I've always enjoyed it. I don't think people saw that I was enjoying it. I think quite often because I'm concentrating or I'm thinking very hard. And so I've had to make sure that I am conveying what I'm feeling. And I think also what I thought was me showing that a very serious person, talking about serious things, didn't actually look like that's what it was. It just looked like she's not enjoying herself. Whereas I thought
she's grumpy.
Yeah. Whereas I thought, I'm being serious because the Kemi that, my friends and family know is actually a very playful, prank-playing, jokey, laughy,
Prank-playing?
Yes.
Like what?
Well, this is the thing that got me...
Whoopee cushions?
No. Well, so people have been talking about this a lot last week. Long before I became an MP in my 20s, I guessed Harriet Harman's password.
Indeed.
Yes.
Wikipedia,
I clicked
and
on...
then potentially broke the law by hacking her website.
So I clicked on the link. And it just asked for a password. It wasn't something that I had planned. I just clicked on a link on her website. I can't remember why now. And for some reason, it asked for a password. I just thought, Harry Harman. And it worked. And I got into the back end. I thought, so I put a picture of Boris Johnson a giant picture of Vote Boris on her website. And that's the kind of thing I do. But no one knew about
it. Cyber hacking. Yeah. That's not a prank.
Well, in 2008, it was a summary offense like speeding. And I didn't damage anything or just put a poster of Boris on this, like putting, someone leaving the door open, putting a poster on it. Obviously, it was wrong. But the thing is, Adam, no one knew about it. I came out and said, I actually did this thing because I'm an honest person. I don't hide things. And I said, well, this is actually something I shouldn't have done. It wasn't a thing that I got caught. And, I apologized to Harriet, who didn't even remember. She thought it was very funny. Is it an endorsement?
It's just because like last week you were saying Rachel Reeves should quit as chancellor because of the whole landlord license.
No. I said she should. I said if she raises tax, she puts up tax. Give her the act. I said if ministers create a criminal offence, they should resign. But a criminal offence isn't just about the act; it's also about the intention. And from what I've seen, I think there's a case to be made that it wasn't the intention. But one of the things I'm trying to do is show that we're not the party that jumps on every single thing. They're the ones who said everybody's got to be whiter than white. I'm merely asking them to abide by the rules which they set. I'm actually a much more forgiving person.
No, it's just interesting because I gave you the opportunity to talk about like a fun thing you maybe did on a family member, and you went straight to hacking Harriet Harman's website.
Because people have been asking about that, so it's at the top of my mind. No, I'm not going to tell you the tricks I play on my family members, including my children, which I find hilarious.
Well, there's some Halloween
ones. Not. No, actually, this Halloween was basically just a gigantic sweet fest because I felt guilty because I hadn't been around. It was half term, and I haven't been around most of half term. So they went surfing. So I basically overcompensating.
Right.
My son's he got his Iron Man costume. He even got an Infinity Gauntlet.
Did you dress up? Did you dress up?
This again.
This is what I do with my children.
I just managed to steer it to politics for 15 minutes, but
so no. this Halloween was a guilt one. No, my husband will probably tell you.
Okay, right. We've got two very serious subjects that we need to discuss, and we've only got a few minutes left. I mean, as we're talking right now on Monday morning, Nigel Farage is doing a big speech in the city. And Chris, what's kind of like the big takeaway from that, and the challenge to Kemi Badenoch from that?
Well, he's also talking about the economy in this speech, but I wonder, in essence, do you occasionally see the hyperactivity of Nigel Farage and fear that it's him who's the real leader of the opposition, not you?
No. I mean, you look at all the stuff we've done. Getting the government to U-turn on grooming gangs. We ran very aggressive campaigns in their constituencies around winter fuel.
Sure, but look where they are in the opinion polls. Look at the weather that they're making in politics.
But the SDP Liberal Alliance was at 50%, and what happened to them?
Back to the 80s.
I can't define myself against another party. I have to say what my party is about. And I think it's interesting that Nigel Farage is doing a speech on the economy. After we came out with very solid, very costed economic policies, I think that they got a bit spooked by that. And they've recently said that they're not going to do certain things. Basically, if you had elected a reform government, they would have thrown away their manifesto. They would not be, with the same leader, they would have changed every single thing that they had promised people. And this is what I'm warning about, that there are some parties who just look at opinion polls, test things, say whatever it is that they think they need to say in order to get elected, and then they cannot govern because they can't deliver.
Do you accept that reform are an existential threat to the Conservative Party?
They're an existential threat to everybody, and every party is a threat. This is the political fragmentation I was talking about. It's very clear that reform is hoovering up a lot of discontent, but discontent is not a policy for government. There are many things.
It might be, though, I suppose. If enough people conclude over a sustained period of years that Conservatives fouled it up in government and then Labour fouled it up in government, that might be enough of a motivator.
It might be enough of a motivator to vote for something different, but what are they offering? It doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Every time you ask them questions, it starts to fall apart. And what I'm saying is that we are the only party that is both competent enough and tough enough to actually deliver the thing we want to see, which is a stronger economy and stronger borders. That's what I'm, making the Conservative Party all about. And I'm not just going to say whatever in order to get elected. We did that before. We told people that we would do all sorts of things that didn't actually cohere. We said we were going to have, lower immigration, but we also said that we were going to do lots of things which required lots of immigration. If you tell everybody what they want to hear, you get into government like Labour has now, and you find that you actually cannot run things. And what I'm telling people is that I understand that you're angry. We tried, but we didn't succeed. I'm a new leader. I know where we went wrong. We will get this right. I'm going to earn your trust. But if you give the keys to a party just so that they can give the establishment parties a kicking, as we saw last year, we get a kicking for one day, you would then have 5 years to live with the thing that you voted for. And that is what worries me, that many people talk about reform as a way of kicking other parties, not about a future for our country. We're about a future for our country.
You've referred back a few times to the elections in the May that's just gone. There's a big set of elections coming up next May, aren't there, in Scotland, in Wales and in England. It's looking rough, both for you and for the Labour Party. Come what may, do you carry on the other side of those elections, even if the Conservative Party takes another colossal kicking?
We have to.
But do you carry on as?
Yes. How do we tell the country what we're offering if we're constantly chopping and changing all the time? What we are seeing is that there is an issue with the party brand, that people don't trust Conservatives. There's actually quite a lot of improvement, certainly in terms of the more they see about me, the more they like. But next year's elections are, we're not going to be out of the woods yet. I was told that it takes 2 years for people to even want to listen to you. And we've also still got, as we had this May, a hangover from the high. 2021, we won loads. That means that the elections this year were tough, but some of the elections they should have had this year have also been delayed. I don't want any more delays, but we have a lot of work to do for May 2026. And that's why I'm telling everyone, Stronger economy, stronger borders. Here is our plan. We're going to scrap business rates for the high street. We're going to abolish stamp duty. Now we have a policy platform which we're going to be working with your councils to deliver for.
And you get another whacking and you carry on anyway.
We have to. I have to make sure that people understand what the Conservative Party is about and expose what Labour is doing. There are 120 MPs, Conservative MPs. We've never been so few before. What I want to see now is the work that I'm going to be doing to make sure that we do well at the May elections. Talking about my own personal sort of what happens after May, in my view, is very much a distraction. Party members voted for me, and I'm going to do what I told them I would do.
You've been very clear. Has there ever been a harder time to lead the Conservative Party in contemporary history? I'm not sure there has.
I don't think that there has. Between the political fragmentation, so many competitor parties at the moment, between that and what we were talking about earlier before the podcast about dopamine politics, where actually doing the right thing is the hard way. It's very easy.
Just to explain, before we started recording, we were talking about watching YouTube, and you were saying actually you don't like the kids watching lots of YouTube because it's just lots of dopamine hits of like just bright lights and just nonsense. Really, that's what you're referring to.
And there is at the moment now quite a lot of dopamine politics. I think that a lot of the smaller parties do that to get attention. Reform certainly did that to get attention, and it does get attention. It does. But it doesn't work for the long term. It is not good for you. It's not solid. It's not nutritious.
I mean, dopamine feels nice, though, which is why people want it. Right, ending on a very serious note.
Until the bad policies come through, and then it doesn't feel nice. Yeah.
I mean, we don't really have time to get into the social ills of Britain. And also we need to be careful what we say about the Huntingdon train station incident because someone has been charged. You said over the weekend, there's something clearly going wrong in Britain. I just wonder, and we don't have time to go into your diagnosis yet, but I just wonder, do you feel the need to maybe do a big speech where you tie together lots of social ills, like knife crime potentially, and sort of have a big conversation about that?
Possibly. One of the things that I'm looking into through our policy commissions is why is it that despite us doing more than ever, some things get worse? Knife crime being a classic example. We've banned endless types of knives over again, a new cycle, knife amnesties, lots of awareness, and yet it's continued to increase. So there are other things that are going on, probably many of them cumulatively. How do we make sure that we start solving these problems? New problems, in fact, which didn't exist 20, 30, 50 years ago. What are the new solutions? And that's what we're working on. I want people to be looking at the Conservative Party as the party that's thinking of solving the future problems, today's problems and the future problems, not reheating yesterday's problems. There's some things that aren't working and we need to get Britain working.
I mean, are you having another one of these big policy reviews for kind of social issues of crime?
So yes, they're already ongoing. So what you saw at conference was the outcome of quite a few of the policy reviews that we'd been doing. And I'll be giving more speeches around how some of this links to the economy as well, because the poorer we get as a country, and we are getting poorer, the harder life is going to be, the more I think we will see a lot of these ills, whether it's because people are reacting to their poverty or because there's not enough money that we can spend to prevent certain crimes or certain issues. So the economy is very much the crux of solving a lot of these things.
Is there a broader point here? Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, talked about this about 10 days ago, where he talked about people feeling a sense of despair that politicians or the state collectively, over a period of years under multiple parties of government, are demonstrably not managing to get things done, perhaps to the extent that happened in generations past. Is that a diagnosis you would share?
Yes, and I don't think it's one that is specific to the UK. France has these issues, Germany, Italy. I would say Western Europe and the West more broadly, but especially Western Europe, is dealing with a lot of structural problems that didn't exist. I use the NHS as a classic example. When the NHS was set up, it was set up for a relatively homogenous, relatively young society. Now we're aging. Having many more old people changes the nature of what the NHS is. Having a much more diverse society also means that there are different complexities in how you treat people. That means that the NHS, as it was designed, needs something new. Those are the kinds of things that we're working on. I'm not saying we've got all
Fewer
the
things
answers.
free at the point of use?
No, not things like that. That doesn't solve aging, an aging society. We need to actually look at what can the future be, and we don't have all the answers yet. But I think we can start looking at what's changing, and that's the sort of thing that's affecting society more broadly.
Because I guess that speaks to perhaps a desire for, over time, a kind of wholesale rewiring, does it? Because actually,
exactly.
When I hear you talking about the ECHR, for instance, that there's parallels in your argument there as there is on the NHS, arguably.
Yes.
Here is an ideal from the post-war era, which, so your argument goes, has sort of outlived its usefulness because the world has changed.
Exactly.
But that's a massive cross-society project of work,
and
isn't
that
it?
is why I'm not just rushing out saying we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Doing that sort of thing requires care, and I care. We care about the consequences of our actions. We don't want to do anything that will cause unrest, that will create more division. It's very easy to stand up and say silly things like, there are too many black people on television adverts. It's not solving a problem. That's the reform way. Actually thinking about how we can change the way we do things for the better, knowing that what worked in the 20th century doesn't necessarily work now.
But I'm just really interested, what are your instincts on how the NHS has to change? Like, is it doing less things, or people expecting less of it, or is it people paying more for certain things?
Well, it's
just instinctively.
It's until we sort out what we're doing on the economy. Until we sort that out, I think it is harder to say how we should adjust it when we are getting less money. This is why starting with the economy is the key thing. We've come out with what we think...
So smaller economy, smaller NHS?
No. Stronger economy. You
No,
can't...
and the corollary of that is you have to cut your NHS cloth according to the size of the economy.
No. The first place we need to start off with actually is welfare. We need to live within our means. The government needs to live within its means. Right now, the government is not living within its means. It's borrowing to pay, to pay people to stay at home. That creates all sorts of consequences. Even things like welfare put a strain on the NHS. Lots of people who should be in work end up, getting more depressed and so on. They need more and more. That puts a strain on society. If we didn't have as many people working in, supporting welfare, they could be going into the NHS, for example. So to the point you're making, Chris, about, just rewiring the state, rewiring the economy, this is what we need to do. That's going to be in our manifesto, what a new Britain could look like. Right now, we just want to get Britain working again. We want Labour to take some of our policies. I'd be very happy for Rachel Rees to steal all of our policies. They are good policies. But right now, I'm worried that she's just going to be putting up taxes and we're just going to be going round and round in circles. More businesses closing, unemployment continuing to rise. It's increased every single month since they came into office. How do we actually just get Britain working again, get people into work? That's the first issue to solve.
Well, thank you for making our day at work so enjoyable today. I've just Googled what is the material that symbolises the first anniversary, because it's your first anniversary. It's paper. But apparently the modern version is clocks.
Clock?
Really?
I know. Where's that come from?
No.
Or is
Paper,
this an AI result that I can't trust?
It's probably AI. No, paper is good. I like writing a lot. Lots of stationery. So yes, thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for coming on
Good stuff.
Newscast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
And that's all for this episode of Newscast. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Kemi Badenoch, leader of the opposition after 1 year in that job. And we will be back with another episode of Newscast very soon. Bye-bye.